welcome to X-Men the Animated Series Re-Examined, a podcast where me, Dan Bain, and Javier Hakeem,
Hello.
We rewatch the X-Men animated series from the 1990s in order to see how it's held up, how it's aged, what's happened since the time that it screened when we were children, now that we are grown-ups.
Yeah, just feed that nostalgia. Feed that sweet man-child nostalgia.
Mm-hmm,
Do you think there are people from, the 60s that were doing this about the 40s? Or did you guys ever see the puppet show that was in 1942? Oh,
probably, and they put it out on the wireless.
Yeah, yeah. So but they didn't have the digitized copies or even analog copies, so they just had to do it off memory.
They just reminisced and kind of.
Welcome to our 6-hour podcast about a 5-minute episode I remember from 20 years ago.
I can't quite remember what the thing. Speaking of things we can't quite remember, we're up to. This is episode 11. We're up to, I believe.
Episode 11. Oh my god!
Episode 11. This is a two-parter, and it's called Days of Future Past. This is part 1.
Yeah.
Do you want to give us a bit of a rundown?
I'm very excited about this one, Dan, because Days of Future Past is one of the most famous X-Men stories out there. It's inspired a lot of things out there. Basically, what happens is the future has gone to hell for mutants. There's a dystopian future, and oh boy, do I love me a dystopian future. To try and curb things, they trace it back to an assassination attempt in the present day, and they send a mutant back to try and stop the assassination. This is the introduction of Bishop. This is the first time we see old Wolverine in a dystopian future. It's a really famous story. Terminator is kind of takes a lot from it, sending things back in time. You probably know it. There's been a film about it. There was a 2014 film, and I reread the 1960s comics about it just to kind of compare about it. That's basically the broad strokes. We'll kind of go as we go. You'll find out more as we go along.
But that's definitely where we're at. Also, before we kind of kick into this one, I just want to point out, and I'm very excited about this one, that usually we record the podcast and it's 8 or 9 o'clock at night. You've usually got a gin,
yes,
and it's about 8 o'clock in the morning for me, and I'm staggering into consciousness, desperately trying to recaffeinate myself and bring myself back to life. Today we have the opposite situation, and I'm excited to see how that changes the dynamic.
I'm a professional, Dan. I wouldn't try to change anything. I'm drinking a gin right now.
Fantastic. Very good. Strong choice.
This is going to be Harv's first ginless podcast, so see how the quality dips.
We'll see what's creating the magic. Is it the man or the medicine?
Yeah. As we start most of these, Dan, had you seen this episode before?
I had not seen this episode before.
Give me a take on it, mate.
Great. So you'll recall at the end of the last episode, we were kind of sitting here umming and ahhing about where things would move to from here, where things would go, what would be the next step, and how it was so open for possibility. So I was really excited to see where this would go, because the possibilities were so kind of open, and they did not disappoint. I was really excited by particularly the first 5 minutes of this episode, because it refused to hold your hand. It took ages before you it said, this is what's happening, here's what's going on. And there's a moment where you first see an old future Wolverine, but it's very brief the first time you see him. I mean, it's kind of blink and you miss it, and it's more focused on the others, and so that's even just more confusion. You're like, could this be strangers in just in a junky part of the present? Big shift, high concept idea for episode, and it jumps straight into it and doesn't.
I love dystopian futures. I love when the Earth has gone to hell, because I think writers at this point can just go, well, we're obviously going to try and save this future, so let's make it as bleak as possible. Let's make it as insurmountable for our heroes as possible. And like you said, it's like a giant skip of a city, and you just see kind of Wolverine scurrying through the alleys and shadows and stuff. I like that he's wearing a trench coat. I like to think that it's Gambit's that he kind of picked up.
Yeah.
And Gambit's last words were like, "Take my trench coat, mon ami."
It'll keep you warm. Yeah.
Thanks,
It's cool.
Cajun.
And yeah, and they don't, like, as you say, they don't skimp on the darkness of this future. It's very much a death camp for mutant future. Like you get shipped off not by the sentinels and work camped or just executed to death. It's
Executed to death. That's normally how that works.
yeah, executed all the way to death.
Yeah. So basically what's happened in this dystopian future is that there was an assassination in present day in Washington of a high-ranking official, and that leads the way to mutant hysteria, mutant absolute fear hits fever pitch, and they announce a program to control the mutants with more and more sentinels. More sentinels, let's chuck more of them. This time the sentinels work. They round up all the mutants. In the comics, the same thing happens. However, they go an extra step further, and the sentinels actually pull a bit of a Skynet and go, if we're going to control the mutants, we actually got to control the human population, because that's where the mutants are mutating from, and they end up enslaving all of North America, essentially. It's nice to see in this one that the sentinel models haven't really changed. The bulk of them haven't changed. They're the same.
No.
That's precision engineering there, folks.
Yes. Yeah, they've decided this is the final form. They've reached the point of perfection. Don't touch that robot. It's good to go. At the top here, we've got old Wolverine kind of running around.
By the way, the year is 2055, to give you some context here.
Okay.
So we're 60 years in the future.
Yeah, we've got old Wolverine, and he's hanging out with some buddies who I didn't know, but one of them had like Colossus arms and could run fast.
Yeah.
And punch through a sentinel.
Yeah. Talk about picking mutant abilities out of a tombola.
Yeah. Okay, he's got the arms of Colossus. He's got Quicksilver speed. He's got this.
Yeah, he's got long short hair. It's looking great.
Yeah. And they end up getting hunted down by Bishop, who is a mutant who is working for the regime as a bounty hunter.
A goddamn traitor.
Goddamn.
I did not remember that Bishop was the one that it's been so long since I saw this episode. I couldn't remember that Bishop was actually hunting down mutants, or as he calls them, rebels. You rebel scum, and rounding them up to bring them to the death camps. Sorry, kids in the 90s, the work camps.
You
to death camps.
Yeah, the execution to death camp. So he picks them up and he takes there's a sentinel battle, and then he turns up and he's got a fancy future gun and whatnot, and he captures Wolverine and these other two, and he drives them off to the work camp in this future kind of motorbike sidecar contraption.
Imagine like a motorbike with a sidecar, but the sidecar's a coffin shape.
Yeah, it's a coffin shape, and it's kind of like a horizontal electro jail, but it's also like, have you seen?
Sounds like a great band name. We're horizontal electro jail. We like to rock out and stuff.
Yeah, it's also. Have you seen that fetish that people have where they get?
I'm going to stop you right there. Yes, absolutely, I have. I don't care what you're about to say. I've seen it.
Yeah, you get in the vacuum bed and they suck the air out of it, and the latex of the bed kind of clings to you, and it's like being trapped.
Yeah, I've heard of the fetish of wrapping someone in glad wrap, or as they say in the UK, cling film. I
think it's
this is another version of that.
I think this is the more kind of extreme, where you get in like a vacuum basically you get in a bag, like a latex bag.
Get in the bag,
and it's got a vacuum cleaner kind of valve on it, and it sucks all the air out.
This is what you do to clothes when you're going to put them in the attic for 6 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
And sexual partners.
Yeah, or if you're just desensitized to everything, it's like, this is the only thing that does it now.
Once they're in the vacuum sealed bag, like you can't really have intercourse. You can't really have sex.
I think, I assume that then your partner kind of like torments you by kind of being like, ooh, now
By
you
walking
can't
around
move,
you?
can you? Yeah, I guess. And being like, ooh, look at my butt. Yeah, you'd like to touch that, but you're stuck in a bag.
I can't believe that from 5 minutes into a 90s TV show for kids, we've suddenly gone down this route. This is clearly what inspired that. You know what that sidecar coffin reminds me of?
Yeah.
This particular fetish.
It's exactly, well, I guess that's, yeah. No further comment.
None needed. None needed. There's no justification needed here. Everyone knows. Everyone can follow that trail of crumbs.
Yeah, it's very strange. Look, if you need to, just Google it. It'll be fine.
What do you think of Bishop's? So Bishop's, look, he's got the scarf around the neck. And did you notice that when Bishop is introduced or he's on his own, he gets his own soundtrack, which is a bit Wild West harmonica. You know?
He's got such a lonesome cowboy soundtrack. Yeah.
Bishop. Yeah. It's a bit like it reminded me of Firefly.
Yeah, he arrives back at the thing and he's got the most overly complex. They've got the most overly complex security system where he gets out like a swipe card.
Yeah.
And then a sentinel fires a laser out of its eyes at the swipe card and it hits the swipe card and then a hologram of Bishop comes out of the swipe card.
It's very Help Me Obi-Wan Kenobi.
And the sentinels turn to each other and fire the information about this between their eyes with lasers.
Yeah.
It's like, it's so overly complicated. And
But, they have to convey to a child what's going on in the future.
It's the visual storytelling of it.
It's not like today's kids, Dad, where they could take over and hack into the Pentagon with an iPad. We didn't know what was going on there. And the Sentinels looking lovingly and staring into each other's laser eyes. That's what we needed to understand. Oh, they're talking.
They're talking
with their
through the
eyes,
lasers.
like Mummy and Daddy do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when they want us to go to bed.
Yeah. So do you notice when they go into the death camp, this is one of those first oh, we're not pulling any punches here, kids. Look at this. And you just see the gravestones of the other X-Men.
Yeah.
That was good, wasn't it?
Straight. Yeah, that was good. It's straight to I guess everyone's dead. They're all, all the rest of the team, they're all blooming all dead. No one made it.
I really had to freeze the frame here and find out who was actually dead. We see the gravestones of Cyclops, Rogue, Storm, and Jubilee, amongst some other ones that are indistinct. And also the times they died. Jubilee was the first to die in 2010.
I saw that, yeah.
She was the first to go, and no surprises there. She was the first to die.
Yeah.
Storm lasts another 11 years. She dies in 2021. Yeah, and Rogue and Cyclops last another 10 years after that. So if you are wondering who are the survivors of the team, Cyclops and Rogue. No mention of Gambit. I'd like to think he died off in a ditch somewhere. No gravestone for him. Then gave the trench coat to Wolverine. Maybe Wolverine buried him in a secret location.
They see this graveyard and then they're like, "All right, you mutants, you're off to be executed, I guess." And then, but then the Sentinels are like, "Oh, Bishop, you've met your quota of people that you capture.
Yeah.
Great, you're going as well.
It's time to execute you. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think this plan is sustainable.
I don't think this plan is sustainable either.
Like, if you're rounding up mutants and you've got a guy that's meeting his quota, maybe keep him around.
Keep him on.
Yeah.
Keep him on. Yeah. He's clearly I mean, I have real problems with this pivot, actually.
Yes, I wrote this down as well. Suddenly, Bishop, from working with the Sentinels, is suddenly taken by them, and a lot of stuff happens here. I would have loved to have seen before they talk to Bishop, going, "You've met your quota. It's time for you to die." Talk to another guy "You have not met your quota. It's time for you to die." Horribly.
Yeah. That's the combo. It's congratulations, Bishop. You met your quota. So now we put you you just go in the no oxygen room. That's great.
You'll die quickly.
Yeah, you haven't been. Well, now you get pulled to pieces slowly by these 4 mechanical horses that used to be good horses.
Those four horsemen, the 4 horses of the
Yeah.
apocalypse. We
Yeah.
put them to good use.
They're really slow now as well because they got trashed by the X-Men
That's right. They're 60 years old.
years ago. Yeah.
No!
So this is going to take a while. Yeah.
All right, so the Sentinels do a hard pivot on Bishop, who, you know what, like, I had problems with Bishop working for the Sentinels, and I was like, yeah, that's what you get. That's what you get when you work with the Sentinels.
Yeah, I think so as well. And like, also, like Wolverine is consistently questions outsiders, right? He's
Yeah.
constantly like, why should we trust this guy?
Yeah.
And like, I work alone, all that sort of thing. I actually feel in this case that he's entirely justified. Bishop has effectively been committing war crimes. Like, he's been, and you know, he's like the Vichy French in World War II, right? Which is the French collaborators with during the German occupation of France during
I did
World
not know
War
that.
II,
You
right?
learn something every day with Dan Bane.
Well, that's kind of the role that he's playing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
He's turned on his own kind and is, you know, informing on the resistance. And,
Yeah.
and
The Sentinels turn on them. They all fight back. Wolverine and Bishop go to the hideout, and we meet Forge for the first time in the animated series, which is awesome. Forge is a mutant whose mutant ability is the ability to create anything with technology. I mean, yeah. I mean, take that to the nth degree as much as you will. He's got a cybernetic leg. He's Native American Indian. He's awesome.
he's just built a time machine.
He's just built a time machine because that, you know, he can. He's
Yeah.
Forge. This is where we get the big pivot. First of all, Wolverine shows up with Bishop and he goes, "This is Bishop. He's with me. He just tried to kidnap
Yeah.
me and sell me off, but we're friends now
Yeah.
for some reason."
Yeah.
Don't worry. Wolverine here survived for 60 years by trusting complete strangers, especially those who've been immediately hostile to him. Let me welcome
Yeah.
you to our secret base.
Yeah. Come on in.
Come on.
You interrupted us we're on a mission.
Yeah.
You interrupted. It's a time travel mission.
Yeah.
Want to be part of it?
So they explain that Wolverine's going to go back and stop the assassination, and Bishop just suddenly goes, "Nah, I should go. Should
Yeah.
be me.
Yeah. Yeah. And his justification is like, you're too old.
You're too old."
And everyone goes with it. Everyone's
goes
like,
with it.
yeah.
Forge
yeah,
is
actually.
like, "No, he's got a point. You know, this thing we've been trying
It's
for
really-
ages." You know,
Yeah.
I did think Wolverine, you'd be best suited for this. You know, having known the X-Men, having lived through the time. You know, your healing factor can help you maybe survive the time travel process as well. But I think this guy we just met that tried to kill you, yeah, let's trust it all to him.
Let's send him instead.
Yeah. You know, I know it's a kids' TV show, but this was some pretty weak writing here, I thought.
I guess the thing is that so much happens in both this episode and the next episode that they just had to kind of, it's like,
Just go with it.
We got to get him
Yeah.
into the present. Like, we just got to get him there.
Kill off Wolverine. Kill off
yeah.
Wolverine. Like, have Wolverine die and then go, "This is my mission. You've got to complete it for me."
Yeah. Yeah.
don't know,
You-
maybe
and
they-
also, yeah, you owe us, right?
Yeah.
This is the way for you to
Atone.
redeem yourself
Yeah.
for what you've done.
Exactly.
There we go.
Dude,
Well,
we
that
should
was-
rewrite the episode.
Well, that was a 12-second fix.
Yeah. Anyway, so I see what you mean. Just take it, kids. He's going back.
Just as he's going back, this super sentinel turns up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So all the other Sentinels are the same model, but they got one prototype for the future, one super concept Sentinel called Nimrod.
Yeah. Yeah. Who looks stupid and has a stupid
He looks like a popsicle.
Yeah. Like like everyone's frightened of him, but there's nothing cool or frightening about him.
No, do you remember like a little claymation program when you were a kid called Gumby?
Yes, he looks exactly like Gumby.
He looks like if Gumby had Iron Man armor.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In the comics, interestingly enough, do you know who gets sent back in time?
No, I don't. Who gets sent back in time?
It is Shadowcat. It's Kitty Pryde that gets sent back from the dystopian.
Now she's the one that can. She's the one that can like run through the wall.
She could
and
phase
whatnot.
through things.
Yeah,
They send Kitty back because she's one of the survivors in the future. And in the comics, the future survivors are Storm, Wolverine, Colossus, Rachel Summers, who's Scott and Jean's daughter.
Yep.
And they send Kitty back because Kitty, in the present day when they want to fix the things, is the youngest member of the X-Men at that time. And they say that she has she's not learnt how to defend herself against telepathic interference. And because the way they're sending her back is actually just sending her consciousness back in time rather than actually her whole body. They just send her mind back in time to her body using Rachel Summers' powers. So it's not a time machine like Forge has. In the movie, they send Wolverine back using the same sort of concept, sending his consciousness back to his time, using Elliot Page as Shadowcat with this weird kind of mind thing. Anyway. So yeah, those are the differences across the mediums.
Gotcha. Yeah, I didn't. I mean, time travel is always a bit hurt, but I kind of liked that perp. It's hard to do well.
Yeah.
But I quite liked the idea of you're kind of going back in time and you have to wear this thing because that's what's anchoring you into the past.
Oh yes, it's temporal transceiver.
That you know, I mean.
So they put it on Bishop's wrist. By the way, every time they have a close up of this thing, how big is Bishop's forearm?
It's
the guy's got
massive.
like tree trunk forearms.
Just like two prize hams at the county fair. And so he goes back in time, and fun moment where he's like, oh no, it hasn't worked at all. I've just been traveled like across town. And then it's like, oh no, it's not the apocalyptic future. You've just made that mistake because this is a poor neighborhood.
Little commentary on society there from the X-Men the animated series.
Yeah. And he's like, children out on the street
in
daytime. Yeah, which I like. I like the world building of that. That told us a lot about the future, I think.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Bishop's a little woozy from the time tunnel, to borrow a phrase from Patton Oswalt. And he can't quite remember why he's here. He knows he's in a different time, but he cannot remember for the life of him why he's here. Cue harmonica.
Yes.
What am I doing here?
Yes.
What year is it?
And
who's the president?
Yeah. And he has to kind of context clues from the environment.
Yes. This is a great little bit. So he's sitting there wondering, why am I here? I think I'm supposed to stop something happening. And some kids run past holding a video game cartridge, going, let's go play your new cartridge. It's called Assassin. And it flicks to the cover of Assassin, and it's the Punisher on there.
Yeah.
Which is a nice little Punisher cameo. And in the corner, it looks very quickly like it says Marvel, but if you freeze the frame, it says Marbles.
Yeah, right. Nice.
For all you super nerds out there, I pause this shit. I check it out. Yeah. It's a bootleg copy of the Punisher, but it's clearly the Punisher.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he goes, Assassin!
Assassin!
Yeah.
Assassin! Assassin! Assassin!
Assassin. What does that mean in my mind? Assassin. So suddenly he remembers.
Yeah. And then he hijacks a bus.
Yes. And then he drives it into the X-Mansion. I love a little bit of comedy here where the Jubilee is monitoring the security systems. And she just feet up on the desk going, and she goes, security check, all clear. And then seconds later, a bus drives through the mansion.
Yeah. Just before this, we have Rogue and Gambit are visiting Beast in jail.
Yes. Yeah. They give him a book as a present. Did you see the title of the book they give him?
I did see the title of the book.
What's the title of the book they give him, Dan?
It's You Can't Go Home Again by Thomas Wolfe.
That's one way to tell people we've rented out your room.
I know, right? I don't know how to break this, but
maybe this book has all the answers you need.
Yeah. Yeah, you had some questions about us bringing some stuff from your lab, and there's what about this book instead?
We've been slowly moving everything into your cell. Soz beast. Like,
yeah.
You've been in jail since episode 1. What did you expect?
Yeah. If it's not, if you don't currently have it, we're at a garage sale.
Do you think the writers keep remembering? Oh shit, Beast's still in jail. We've got to go visit him. Like, you know, when you remember your granny's birthday or something. You're like, oh shit, I've got to.
Yeah. Oh, what day is it? Oh.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Beast. We were fighting apocalypse on Muir Island and Stonehenge. I'm so sorry, bro. How's the food?
It's like, it's fine. Well, it was my birthday yesterday.
Did you notice that Beast's cell has no door?
And exactly. It's like,
it's just got the bars.
It's just got the bars. And Gambit's like, I'm going to explode out of this cell. And Beast's like, don't explode the bars. And Beast just
bends them.
Gives them just bends them open. It's like,
the old
through you go.
Strong man.
Yeah, just strongmans them out.
That means he would have had to have strongmanned them in because the bars are fine. He would have come in and then let me close that.
Yeah. I mean, it
makes the guards uncomfortable when they realize I could just walk out of here any fucking time I want.
I mean, it makes you wonder, like, do the guards even know that there's visitors? Because I mean, no one has visitors in their cell.
Yeah. Which cell should we put Beast in? The one with no door.
Yeah.
Like, maybe if they zoomed out, like all the other cells just have like skeletons in them.
Yeah, it's like these are one-way cells. You go in there, and then we cement these bars in place. Don't knock them while it's drying. Don't.
All right, back at the mansion, Bishop's plowed through the mansion with the bus. He gets out and shoots Storm and Cyclops with his future gun. And for a second, I thought, that future gun does really fuck all. And then later on, Jean says, oh, lucky it was on stun.
At this point, I don't know how much information Bishop has. It's uncertain kind of who... Obviously he knows it's one of the X-Men that he has to go and assassinate, but we don't know if he knows. And so who he's... Or if at the big reveal at the end of the episode, no spoilers yet, if it's that moment when they come in that triggers him and he goes, oh shit, it's that person. Or if he's there and he's like, I'm hunting this person.
It isn't clear. One thing that we do know is that he reveres the X-Men because they are legends. Because he really remembers the X-Men. He goes, oh my God, the legends themselves. It must be a bit disappointing when he goes, I've got to go take on these legends. I'm going to crash a bus through their mansion and then just get out and shoot them. And my plan worked.
Yeah. Also, his outfit, though, is real... It's real X-Men uniform.
Yeah.
Like,
blue with yellow trim. He's even got an X on there.
Guess that's how we differentiate that someone is a major character.
So he's subdued, and then they start talking. He spills a story about everything. Wolverine hears a story about how he's from the future, and he's supposed to stop in a second. He makes a reference here. He calls him Mr. Terminator.
Yeah.
Check out Mr. Terminator over here, clearly referring to the timeline of the events of Terminator, of traveling back in time. Isn't it weird that the Fox Kids Network decided, let's chuck in a reference to an R18 movie
yes,
from 1988 or whatever?
There's something really satisfying about in both of these episodes, actually, this one and part 2, the next one, which is it actually feels really grounded in reality. I think it's in the second one when they have the big fight. Yeah, it is in the next one where they have a big fight in Washington, which probably isn't a surprise to where this is all kind of going to stop the assassination. And I was kind of considering that at that time as well, which is like, particularly if you're an American child, to be like, oh, this is happening in the real world. Which felt kind of more resonant than like it's Gotham City or it's
we have a Washington.
that's the monument. Like
Yeah.
that's the it's the same. Unfortunately, not really a thing that the French were able to particularly resonate with in the previous episode. It's like, we have an Eiffel Tower, but it's better than that one.
Yeah, I reckon that cardboard piece of shit. There's a little moment where I think Jean is talking about Bishop and saying how she thinks she's telling the truth after Wolverine's been, what's what I'm looking for, incredulous about this. And she puts his hand, like, you blink and you'll miss it. She puts her hand on his shoulder as she's saying, like, I believe that he's being sincere or something. And then Wolverine kind of turns back to look at her. And when he looks back forward again, he does this weird little smile. This really weird little 12-year-old boy has been kissed on the cheek by his babysitter who he fancies smile. And it's just the weirdest thing. And I was like, what the hell? And I realized, it's because Jean put her hand on his shoulder. And he's like, Jean touched me.
The implications of this particular moment are shocking, quite frankly, which is Professor X is like, we'll need Cerebro for this. And he goes and gets the Cerebro and puts it on Bishop's head. And then they all sit around and watch Bishop's thoughts like it's the TV.
Yes. And Wolverine's like, at least I keep my hair.
I know. I mean, imagine the pressure on Bishop there. It's like, is it that episode of The Simpsons? It was like, think unsexy thoughts. Think unsexy thoughts.
He's standing there with Jean Grey there and Storm there as well.
Yeah, they're all in like their lycra body suits. Like, let's all pay attention. He's like, think unsexy thoughts. Think unsexy thoughts.
So his temporal transceiver starts going up. And Wolverine has a couple of like really meow kind of jokes here. Like they're a little bit out of context. So out of character for him because his temporal transceiver goes off and he says, something's happening that's a message from the future. And he goes, what's someone trying to steal your car in the future? I was like, what a dig, Wolverine. This guy's... And then he says like, something comes back through the time tunnel with me. And he goes, check, please.
Yeah, that's right. Didn't they go and then they fight that?
Yeah, so the Super Sentinel Nimrod, Gumby and Iron Man armor has come back through through time as well. And that's what really convinces the X-Men that he's telling the truth, because they find the Super Sentinel, they all band together to take him down. I like how when they're all like, our attacks are ineffective, and Storm's like, I know what I'll send him, hail.
Yeah. It's like it's a super. It's deflected all of these energy and physical attacks, and it's from the future. But I just wondered to myself, has this robot ever been caught out in the rain? And it turns out it hasn't. That was probably the.
Hold on, just before that, just one little thing I picked up on that was really super interesting was Nimrod, the Super Sentinel, fires something for a wall to fall down on Storm, so we can remind everyone that Storm's claustrophobic again. And Cyclops says, we got to help her. She's claustrophobic. And Bishop says, it's Nimrod. He can sense that.
Yes. Yeah. No, this was really good, because then he blasts Jean Grey, not to get rid of Jean Grey, but to get Wolverine out of the fight. Yeah. He blasts her, and then Wolverine's like, Jean. And then he's like, off he goes.
Cyclops is sitting there going, fuck, I hope he doesn't sense my fear of clowns.
I know, right?
Suddenly a little car pulls up.
Yeah.
They just keep coming.
There's so many in there.
Look at their shoes.
Yeah.
Dan has, I don't know if you know this, but Dan Bain has worked in, the industry a long time. Dan's got one benchmark on how good a clown is. Do you remember? You told me this? What's your benchmark on how good a clown is, Dan?
It's how big are their shoes? You got to look at the shoes. If it's proper clown, they got proper clown shoes, and so it's like a real easy metric.
Yeah. So next time you're at a kid's birthday party, and the clown turns up, just have a look, and you'll be able to tell if you're dealing with a pro or not. If they got proper clown shoes.
Yeah. If they got proper clown shoes, it's like you've made a wise choice.
Yeah. If they're just wearing Converse.
No,
they're early in the game.
Yeah, even if they're like a funky cool clown. No, if they're a funky cool clown, they'll have 3/4 pants, they'll have like stripy socks, and they'll have proper clown shoes.
There you go, folks. 3/4 of that description there was what Dan used to wear back in early 2000s. Every day. Every day.
Every day. Every day. No show. Just, yeah.
Right. So,
Full.
so they get convinced that Bishop's telling the truth because, super advanced sentinel came through the time tunnel. I like that they did defeat it by destroying its temporal transceiver, so it can't stay in time anymore. It gets sent back to time because when they blew it up, it started regenerating like T-1000 styles.
Yeah, the bits start creeping towards each other.
So they go back to the mansion, and this is one bit that was really interesting. And when they start going, okay, if he's telling the truth, it suddenly becomes a bit Among Us. Like, well, who is it? Who's it going to be? It couldn't be any of us. We're all. And Jean says, she goes, well, it could be any of us. I mean, like, we all have our dark days.
I know. Yeah.
Everything all right, Jean? I know we leave you off on missions sometimes, but you're good.
What are you getting up to when you're at home? Like everything cold?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you need to take your shoelaces off you? and then at that moment, Rogue walks in the door and everyone's like, ooh, fucking, ooh, is it, ooh? And she's like, ah ha ha, wow, howdy y'all. Kind of just like cheerful.
This is verbatim from the script, by the way, all Dan's noises.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Sorry. 1, 2, 1. Howdy, y'all. Good. Yep. Southern charm. Oh, cats in the bag.
I think the writers were on strike that week.
I think that might have been.
Yeah. Rogue enters and says rogue things.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then she's been followed by Gambit, who's like, everyone can relax. Gambit's here.
Yes.
At which point Bishop goes, does the Leonardo DiCaprio lean forward and point, going, assassin!
Out comes his future gun.
Yeah.
And we cut on him firing that. Boom, end of the episode. End of part
episode.
1.
Oh.
To be continued.
Gambit's the assassin. Bishop's from the future. Will they save the future? What? Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty...
What was your favourite part of the episode, Dan?
My favourite part, definitely the opening. The
dystopian future.
The future, the boldness of the gravestones of they're all dead. And then also the reincorp of like, now we show the gravestones on Bishop TV to it, like everyone has to watch their own gravestones. Yeah. Just like Jubilee being like, oh, I went first.
Yeah. Hopefully Jubilee's like, I better train harder, eh? Can't have this shit happen.
Maybe I need to get my shit together.
Yeah. You died 10 years before the others. Shame.
I can't believe. No, right?
Shame, bro.
I know.
Oh. All right. I can't wait for next week. Will Beast be allowed back into the mansion?
Exactly. And how will he feel about the fact that all of the ironic books from his bookshelf have been taken away and given to him in jail? So, what do you mean no ironic titles left? And you'll be able to, of course, to find out all about those, what happens exactly on next week's episode. The easiest way to make sure that you don't miss next week's episode is to subscribe to the podcast on your podcast app of choice. You can do it there. That's where you can do it. It'd be wonderful if you have been enjoying the show to write a review, especially if you're on Apple Podcasts. But wherever you get it, you can usually do that, and that will be awesome too. It helps the show massively, but in these kind of early days of any podcast, the best way to help us out is if you have a friend who likes this sort of thing, why not tell them about it? Kind word from you does you no harm and does us a world of good.
Yeah, just
that's a line that I learnt in the circus.
Yeah?
Yeah.
There you go.
That's a Tony Ratcliffe from Whirling Brothers, New Zealand. He used to say that all the time.
What was the line again? It does us no harm.
A kind word from you does you no harm and does us a world of good.
Oh, look at that.
Isn't that that's quite nice, isn't it? It's
out
quite
of
nice.
The mouths of carnies.
I know, for a man that literally was New Zealand's only private elephant owner.
And on that note,
on that note, we'll see you next week. Thanks
cheers,
very
guys.
much.
Thanks. See you later.
Are podcasts too interesting? Especially if you use them to fall asleep. I'm Dan Bain, and all 4 seasons of my podcast, Sleepy Time Mumbles, are interesting enough to listen to, but not interesting enough to keep you awake. Sleepy Time Mumbles, a podcast you can miss, wherever you get your podcasts.